권박사 지구촌 TV 시청자 여러분 안녕하십니까? 요즘 우리나라 학교에서는 학생들 사이에 물리적인 폭력이 좀 심각한 편입니다. 그런데 서양 여러 나라들에서는 이러한 학교 폭력에 대해서 어떻게 대처하는지 함께 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
Hello everyone, my name is Christopher. I am a professor. I live here in South Korea. I am an American and I'm from the state of Massachusetts. I've been asked today to talk about bullying in the United States. Well, that's a complex question for me because we have 50 different states. A lot of my international friends think that the United States is made up of 50 little countries. We're not 50 little countries. We are one unified country. How it works is that each state in our union has different laws that are set up. Some of these are prohibited laws. Now, there is not one law in the United States that states bullying is illegal. We don't have one. You can look that up. What we do have is prohibited laws within certain states. Now, that could be sexual orientation or other materials like skin color or whatever the attack was on the person who was bullied. When somebody actually physically puts their hands on another person or is physically attacked or their property is attacked. Now, we do know primarily that the largest percentage of bullying in the United States is dealt with in middle school. And the largest statistics of this is 75% girls, 25% boys. Now, out of that, 9 out of 10 students will report bullying sometime in their lifetime. How bullying is dealt with in the United States? Well, in my state, they would rank it, is it number 1, number 2, number 3? Is it just teasing? Is it really verbal violence? Or is it bullying where it's been, you touch? Well, the first level is if it's just teasing, it's usually dealt with in school, student to teacher, and maybe a phone call back home. The second level is where it's more verbal bullying, where it's more verbal violence, is where we would take it to a new level, where actually the parents would be contacted, possibly setting up a counseling session with the person who actually had done the bullying and a counseling session with the victim that has been dealt with. And then the third one is if it is physical violence, where actually the student has been touched or hurt in some way, it's usually taken not only from the school to the parents, but the police are often involved, which causes distancing.
Hallo, mein Name ist Annika und ich komme aus Hamburg, Deutschland.
So in Hamburg, Germany, for example, either more homework or we will be suspended after like maybe 5 warnings, 5 maximum like 6, and then they get suspended from school for a few days or even weeks from school.
Hola, me llamo Marta y soy de España. Well, actually, there's a lot of bullying in Spain too. I think it's similar to Korea because the government doesn't really care about the students. Like, normally, if they are like bad students and take like bad grades at school, then the student will normally go to school, to home with like letter from the teacher. And normally parents, instead of like scolding the student for being bad student, they will scold the teacher because they think that their kid is like kind of up from the parents and they expect to be like perfect and they don't even care if the teacher is like trying to scold them or something. They just want to like, they will never hit their kids. And actually when I was like around 20 years old, I was going to school to study like car mechanical, and obviously I was the only girl there, but they were like trying to bully the other guys in my class that they were like more shy or have like soft personality, and it's only us students that we need to fight for that. They don't really care about bullying, they will not say anything or do anything, but the ones that have like more strong personality will try like to help the other ones, and that's the only thing you can really do, because even there's like a big problems in the news or anything, the teachers will always say like, no, it's just like kids stuff, they will just like playing and there's like nothing we can really do about that, and the government doesn't really help them or do anything about that. And if you're like, I think it's like 12 or 13 years under, like they will not even do anything about, even if you kill someone, they will not like bring to prison one kid. And if it's like from 13 to 18, if they did something bad, they will go to like reformatory kind of school. It's not prison, but it's not like, so they cannot go out, but they are not really in prison because they go to school there and they are like learning and continue their lifestyle. So when they go out, they will still not repent of what they have done, like bad things or anything. They don't really care. So when they go out, normally they will continue like bullying or like killing other people or like hurting others. So it's kind of like really bad things.
Hi, my name's Dave. I'm from Queensland, Australia. There's several ways that they deal with violence and bullying in schools here. First of all, it's to deal with it when the incident has occurred. They might have a couple of different stages of discipline measures that they enforce. I think the most effective thing, though, that they use at the schools here is trying to make sure that the incidences don't occur. And one of the things that they do is by identifying students that are at risk of disengaging from the school and the community. And they can have what's called a behaviour management teacher or a support teacher, which basically works as a liaison officer that works between the school and the home. And these liaison officers go and actually do home visits and meet the children's parents or caregivers, and they try and figure out what the student actually needs and what they want. So a big problem that can cause the violence is lack of ability to communicate. So they could be suffering in one place and the bullying and the violence is an outlet for that frustration. So what happens then is they can have like counselling and stuff put in place. So the younger that the student is in age that they can identify that this student might be at risk of being disengaged, the earlier that they can put in these preventive measures. The other thing then is making sure that the students feel valued and cared for. They're a neutral person that the student can communicate with and tell them their issues without being judged. So we have counsellors as well at school, and they work very well. So the liaison officer and the counsellors work hand in hand to help try and figure out stuff for the student. So the focus is on the student. We also have things here depending on the severity. There might be behaviour schools that they have sometimes, which will have the pointy end of those kids that are disengaged. So one of these schools might only have 12 students in it. They will do a lot of hands-on activity with personal development. When it comes to bullying at a school, you can look at is you've got the person that is committing the offence, the victim, but you also have the third group of people, which are the people that stand by and watch. What is their role in this? And this is something that rolls on as a skill in the classroom, at schools, but also into the community. So it can't be just focused on the student. It needs to be focused on and looked at with the parents and the support that they're getting at home. The violence and the bullying at schools can be approached as an itch and scratch scenario, but the problem with that is these issues will still continue to happen. So it's more a preventative type of approach, which can start and should start at an early age once students are identified that they could be at risk of being disengaged from a school setting and the community.
Hallo, ich heiße Henrik und komme aus Deutschland. In Germany we have teachers. They are usually voted by the students, usually one or two teachers in the school, and they, like we say, Vertrauensperson means like trusted persons. And if there's some issues, like between students or between students and teachers, the students can go to these persons and talk in secret to them, and they will find a smooth way to solve the problem. And also we have parents' meetings like per year, usually 2 times, the parents meet up with the main teacher of that student, and they talk about the issues and if the student make good achievements and progress, or if the student has trouble or anything, and like the parents can talk after at home to the student. There was one guy, he just did so much trouble, and we have like special schools, so people who make lots of problems or who are really slow in progressing in school, they will be sent to the schools, and these teachers, they're especially trained to handle these students, and they are separated from other students. They are kind of isolated in that school.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Églantine et je viens de France. So the violence at school in France, in my opinion, is not as serious as in Korea in general. You don't hear as much like bad news every day. But we do have, of course, a lot of bullying and violence at school in France. And usually how teachers deal with this kind of violence would be if both of the students are fighting together, they would just separate each other and then got a punishment or just out of school for a few days, overtime work. I think, that's all. But if only one student is actually beating another one, I think he would be the only one who get the punishment.
Bonjour, je suis Atalane et je viens de France. The more common are in the one outside when we are waiting for the lesson. So 2 people can fight, and actually even the other people can join the fight. And usually there are people which are like watching all the children, like to care about them, and they arrive and they just separate, and sometimes they can punish them. Like we have different type of punishment. Then we can just after the school you have to stay 1 hour more at school, and that, or they call the parents, or they just write it in the school note of the children, and that type of things. But usually they just separate, and if it is really big violence, he can be excluded from the school, like maybe both or the one will begin. Maximum 3 months, I think, and minimum maybe 2 days or 1 day. We also have someone which is here to care about the child problem, which is just here for that, physical and mental. So you can go to that person and talk about it.
Hi, my name is Gareth Fannin. I'm from Ireland. So to answer that question, how do they deal with violence and bullying and stuff in Irish schools? They deal very strictly. So they will get teachers involved, maybe the police if it's very bad, and the student who committed the violence or bullying would be warned, possibly with suspension. If it happens again, expelled. And then if it's group violence or a group of people, they might get a therapist to speak to them and talk to the kids' families as well. So they deal very strongly with it. And if it's very bad, like I said, police involved as well.
Здравствуйте, меня зовут Екатерина, я из России. In Russia is also a big problem because boys fight boys, boys sometimes fight girls, and also girls fight with girls. And kids doesn't get any punishment. Teachers just came and say, you staying with uncle and you staying with uncle. And that's all. Have no any another punishment. So the strongest people win. If you have brother or sister older, you can bring them to revenge.